This is project 5, part 2. We have open in Illustrator the output, the EPS output from the SketchUp model. If we look at the SketchUp model, right, and we look at the view from which we generated that output, if I rotate this, you can see the cutting plane 4 feet from the ground. Also, in addition to thickening the lines around the walls through which it's cutting, if I have furnishings like bookshelves and the like, or bathroom stalls, it's going to cut through those elements as well and generate thick lines through the elements that it's cutting. So we, in the Illustrator file, we want to compensate for that in that line drawing, because we don't really wish to emphasize the cutting through furnishings and the like. So how can we modify that? Well, we can see that this live paint group created a group by default of that EPS output, which is now part of this live paint group. In order to modify its properties, we want to modify only certain parts of it. We double click on it, which basically puts us in this isolation mode. So we're inside we're inside the object itself, and that allows me to select individual parts or pieces of it. Sometimes you have to double click more than once. This is a rather complex object through which we're cutting, so I'm going to gingerly select a bunch of these objects here, which we don't really want to show in a heavy line way. There we go, right? And I'm going to change the stroke to a light half point, so that we don't confuse those lines with the lines which are actually the cutting plane. It's kind of an artificial condition. 4 feet above the ground, naturally we're cutting through furnishings that are 8 feet tall, but we don't want to emphasize that in the drawing. The columns, of course, will remain in a heavy line weight. In fact, we should probably fill that in. So I'm still in isolation mode, and I can select, let's zoom in on this part of the drawing, and I can select these lines, which are still, several of which are still fairly heavy. So let's change that to half a point. All right. To further refine this, I'd probably want these windows to have a lighter weight that would improve the legibility of that object. Okay. Let's do that with windows and doors. There's a window and door sequence there. Line weight. So now we're starting to see that our we can manually go in and modify the line properties of our drawing, which is important. We want to communicate clearly what is represented as a section cut and what is simply elements in the drawing that we see directly, as if in elevation. There's a bunch of shelves along this point that whose line weight we want to change. Okay, we'll stop there. I'll continue to finish the rest of this, and you can see the result when we open up part 3.